The zoning board of review is now in session. First item on the agenda is roll call. Hopefully, Mr. Borden will make it. Mr. Furell,
Present.
thank you. Mr. Reposo,
Present.
Ms. Horowitz,
Present.
Mr. Donovan,
Present.
Mr. Harris,
Present.
and the chairman, Mr. Not, is also present. Next item on the agenda is minutes approval, and believe it or not, we have the minutes of May 20th of 2021 was never approved, so could I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th, 2021?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approved. All right. So chairman report. So a few things tonight. First of all, want to welcome Leah Hitchin. Leah's our new town planner. Welcome. Welcome to your first zoning board meeting. Also, the board for the first time in a number of years now is at full capacity. We have Charles Kevin Donovan, one of our new alternates. Mr. Donovan, welcome. Thank you for volunteering your service. We also have Mr. Langdon Harris. Langdon, thank you for volunteering your service. On another note, and I found this out today, and it's with deep sadness, and I sent condolences to the family on behalf of the board, but Tia Sigalinsky passed away 4 days ago. Were you on the board when Tia was on? No, I think it was just John and I. Tia was on the board for a number of years. She was secretary. She was a force to be reckoned with, and it's sad. She was not that old, and I'm not quite sure what happened, but our condolences out and to the Sigalinsky family. So moving on, we'll get to our regularly scheduled agenda. So the first item on the agenda is a petition by the Aquidneck Club seeking to amend a previously approved special use permit. Mr. Chappelle.
Court Chappelle on behalf of the Aquidneck Club, as you know, petition now for it was continued to today. A number of witnesses couldn't be here, including one of the representatives from Aquidneck Club. So we need to reschedule for the next scheduled hearing, our next regular scheduled date. There may be some action between now and then that will take a different path. I will let the board know when how much you get to with the meeting.
Okay. So based on that, could I have a motion to continue the petition of the Aquidneck Club to our regularly scheduled meeting of June 16th?
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Got a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's been moved. Okay. Next item under the agenda under old business is Newport Solar Inc.
On behalf of Joe and Mary here, today from Newport Solar. The district, this is 424 Vanderbilt Lane.
Mr. Spell, would you like to swear him in first? Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth? Individually, could you give your name and address for Teresa, please, for the record? Okay, go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
So I'm hoping you'll find it pretty simple and we'll do most of the talking. But this is simply an R30 lot down in Belt Lane. So the issue before you tonight is to put two solar panels on the back. I need you to remember that our solar ordinance. Solar on everybody's rooftop as a matter of right. The only thing is to make application to our building inspector. Solar panels on your roof. And that includes a state solar permit because of the technical electrical nature of safety aspects. The building inspector also makes sure, for instance, that it's mounted to the roof in a way with the hurricane gate. It's standard of 140. The only difference is when you're when you're firm about that, it would be practical to put it on the roof. Allows from a zoning perspective, it's the APJ criteria of Article 7. And I'll go through those first. But we also need to know that one of the things we solar panels in the yard is to make sure they fit all your dimension requirements. So you look at a solar panel like you do an outlet. You lay it on the ground and you measure 12 feet by 6 feet, and there's 60-foot of lot coverage. You add one panel, then the other. You add all of your house and all of your outbuildings, and you determine it's still under 20%. We are well under the side of the lot. There is no lot coverage. Each panel, yeah, it can be 3 feet from the property line. Each same setback in the building or 20 feet, which means 20-foot side yard, and in this case, 30 foot. There are no variance requests. These panels can go on this property as a matter of right. The only thing is, our town council, when they did the ordinance, said, if you're gonna have solar panels in your yard, as opposed to solar panels on the roof, we're going to make it a conditional use, like this will be permit criteria, compatibility with neighborhood. So that is the only concern. The other thing I want you to know is that sometimes we frown upon those who work first. Sounds like that's the case, but not the case. No one very hired. Did not do anything in your package is the online permit for the electric permit, which is the start of the solar application. They asked for that permit was granted. When it mount actual panels, it was told by the building inspector, you can't mount those panels until you get a special use permit. All work ceased. This is not the Meadow case where a guy puts it up and it's coming. This is not up. It is not done. But they had put the racking system in. The racking system has to be approved by the inspector. But since I've been here a number of times, racking systems on solar, you need to know that it is designed for the 140. It is the strength. We do the full test. They go into the ground and turn oil. Go deeper, maybe bigger diameter. All done by full test by the portion that would come from 140 mile wind on the left, and everything needs to pass. Technically, the zoning board doesn't decide whether that's done by the building inspector. The same way you might decide that a building could be built. You don't decide whether it's
However, for the record, Mr. Chappelle, when it comes to noise, smoke, odor, safety, et cetera, that's where it comes in.
I get it. So, and that's why we're ready to do it.
Right.
But I did want, when I was here listening to a certain one, I would ask for facts.
Right.
There were a lot of concerns. No one else is gonna then go out and inspect it, so I really need to make sure it's done right. In this case, the inspection, other than the electrical, has not been done. And everything will be inspected by your building. That does mandate, same rules you would have with any other building, hurricane guide, that passes the 145.
Actually, according to the engineering letter from Solar Foundations engineer James Douglas, this particular components are right. The panel's 140, the rest of it 160. Okay.
Well, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. When you put a hurricane guide in, you propose that at the bottom. If you can put the same in time, then maybe 200 miles an hour. These are minimum, we built above minimum, this is what always built above minimum, but they do, what their engineer says is that they need all of them.
Right.
So my son has been kind enough, you have all the plans and all the packaging, and I think as you know, the criteria is that it's compatible with the neighborhood. I think the best definition ever of compatible with the neighborhood is ask my neighbor to go up. So the neighbor, there is a neighbor directly to the north, there is a neighbor directly to the south, and there is a neighbor directly to the east. That's called the Soprano River, property is right on the water. The coastal resources has no problem with the application, because solar panels have to be outside of the coastal jurisdiction. This is outside of the coastal jurisdiction, so we have no issues there. So the letter in your file from the north, asking you to, or saying you have no objection. There's a letter from the neighbor to the south, and there's a letter from the neighbor to the north. They're all immediate voters. Originally, neighbor to the north was represented by Dave Marlin, and you might have originally had a file saying they accepted. We met with them and moved different further away. Things that happened was solar put the poles to mount the array at 20 feet. But the pole is not supposed to send to the property line because the array hangs over 4 feet over the ground. Now it's been 6 foot over. The closest part of the array is 22 feet, and it dropped down, cut the array, made it shorter and cut it down. So we need to keep it. I would like 1,000 words in this case. If the solar doesn't fit on this property, because of a hoop, the long wire or falls in the woods, did you hear it? It doesn't fit anywhere. If this property, a large property here, so the first picture that's in front of you now is basically sitting just in front of the home, looking back. So you can see how far they own from this. Just behind the house off Vanderbilt, it's looking due on it river. And you can see they own all the way down to the corners. Topography on how far it's off. What you see at the, what you see very close where the red stake is the first tier. So it's level, drops down 10 feet, then it goes all the way to that set of bushes that you see. That's all level. Then it drops down another 10 feet. Those arrays on the post exist in this picture. You just don't see them. You don't see them because the topography of the land blocks them from this house and any house that's set up by the road. Next picture. Now this is from the water, 50 feet behind them, looking back up to the house. And you can see just behind that array that's already, race is already in the ground, that steep bank that goes up 10 feet and then has the bushes on top. So you see that even standing level and even from the second store windows, you can't really see this array because of the topography. This is again that picture that I'm trying to show you just how steep that bank that's tucked behind. Those are facing that direction because that is south. That bank is east, heading towards the Vanderbilt Lane. And again, it's that bank, trees on top. This is again a picture from that first level looking out. There's a pond and the bridge is actually fantastic landscaping if you've ever been down there. That's all part of their land. And again, if you look at the green.
Do you need to get a landscape architect in? The green trees.
Behind there are those, that rack is there now. You just can't see it because you look over it even from the second level. That is looking at the new house. That was Mr. Martin's client. That's the house that burnt down at the end of Vanderbilt, if you recall.
Oh, yeah.
And it's being rebuilt. And he was originally concerned because those poles, as they sit in this picture, are 20 feet off the property line. And you can see where that rack extends an additional 4 feet to the north,
Mhm.
that meant it was really only 16 feet, quite frankly, in violation of ordinance, and it would have required a sideline variance. By agreement, if you read the Markland letter and the new plan, you see, the closest piece is 22 feet away. That shifts that approximately 6 feet, and you can see from the angle of the existing trees, that gets it behind all of those trees. He did reserve the right, you'll see in the letter, that I think you can meet Mr. Markland's client, that he said the condition of his blessing was to move it 6 feet, which we would support, to drop it down 1 foot, and if necessary, he thinks he may want one more tree on the end. He wants to wait and see after it's moved whether he wants another tree. But that tree, although it may block the tips of the array, also that's a wide open view. He doesn't want us to go any further with trees than just enough to block the tips. So the present special use permit before you is with the plan that shows the closest tip of that array from the property line and 101 inches from the. Remember, our ordinance allows a solar panel to be 12 feet high. 101 inches is
Yeah.
5 inches. So this is a very low panel, it's a low profile panel, designed to be under that hill, designed not to bother the neighbor, and pushed over as far as you can go. The reason it favors the north side, you might be looking at a lot that's a couple hundred feet wide and say, why don't you put them right in the middle of the sun? We are not in control of our trees to the south, and because there are large trees to the south, there's shading. So you have to get that first panel far enough over, and then the second one out of the shade of the first one. And that's why generally every solar installation you'll ever see is pushed. Other than that,
Okay, I have a question. Your installer. I have a question for you. And because this came up at a previous petition, are you licensed by the state of Rhode Island under their licensing guidelines as a licensed solar installer?
I hold that. But
Right, you can do the wiring part of it, but the installation part of it, panels, okay, so you do fall under renewable energy licensing.
That is inconsequential because that is.
It's not inconsequential, believe me, I've studied it, it's not
No, we are-
inconsequential.
All right, we are an electrical contracting corporation,
Right,
meaning we have multiple master electricians.
right,
One is an officer of the corporation. All of our installers are licensed electricians or apprentices.
okay,
So we
Does
are.
your company hold the licenses necessary to apply to our building inspector in the state of Rhode Island to certify this project?
Yes,
Do you do that all over this island? Normally without a special use permit, but as to the permits required to get a system that you install license? And as to the bracket system, does that require a firm that you use that have certified structural engineers? You have your plans to mount these particular panels, gone to structural engineers, signed by structural engineers, and been submitted to the town of Portsmouth as such.
yes.
Now, that is the requirement for any truss system that any of you use and any structured system. So the licenses of the bracket company come from the structural engineer. The licenses of the solar panels and the electrical tie-ins come from the electrical licenses that are held coupled with the certificate. It's not technically a solar license. It's a certificate coupled. Having a certificate doesn't allow me to wire.
right,
And having a certificate doesn't allow me to design rack. Having a certificate allows me to install it with the proper signatures from the proper licensor. And Mr. Hinton, you know, is electrical. engineer.
I know, Mr. Hinson.
He's already.
Yeah.
He's already passed the inspection of the wires. to the event.
Okay,
But he still has to re-inspect when everything's packed.
Okay. I've got the information I need. Before I go to abutters, any questions from the board at all? Anyone?
Yes, sir, I do.
Go
have
ahead,
a
Mr. Sherrill.
Mr. Chappelle, does this installation fall under the small solar electrical system?
By a ton.
Yeah,
Our
yes,
small is actually designed as 40,000 square.
16, I think.
Yeah. What we meant with the solar panels is to basically say, and the industry regulates it as well. You can only put on your roof that which you can produce an electric bill. So if I produce an electric bill of $500 a month and I have a big enough roof, the grid will allow me to produce.
Okay.
This is much more, this is two small panels. And the square footage on each panel is it might be 230
Okay,
total.
okay.
So it's well under that.
Okay. Yeah, our ordinance appears to talk about a roof mounted system, small, medium, and large. And so because I believe, because this is ground mounted, it and falls under 1,600 square feet, it qualifies as a small
And-
SES.
But even if you get 1,600 square feet, you still may have a lot coverage issue.
Yes,
If you
yes,
tried to do it down
yes,
in the small lot.
correct. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board?
No, sir.
Teresa, for the record, by the way, two things. Could you show that Mr. Borden is now in attendance? And the members that are going to vote on this petition will be myself, Mr. Farrell, Mr. Reposa, Ms. Horowitz, and Mr. Donovan will be the last vote.
So I'm gonna quickly go through.
Hang on a second. I'm waiting for him to. Go ahead, Mr. Chappelle, if you want to run through it.
I'll just run it quick.
Sure.
You install a number of these in a number of neighborhoods. So our special use permit has some criteria. The first is the desired use won't be detrimental to surroundings. Solar panels reflect light, do they have noise, do they have odor? This isn't just a large solar array that has inverters. that have to work. Compatible with neighboring land use. The neighboring land use is residential. This is residential. There's no difference in the thing. Won't create a nuisance or hazard in the neighborhood. For the most part, the way you tuck this in the back of the hill. No one can really see it. And those that could, if they walked into their backyard, specifically given us better. Adequate protection is afforded to surrounding property by use of open space and planting. These are large open space lots, certainly large plantings and landscape areas. Looks like their homes are. Safe, vehicular access and adequate parking is relevant and sufficient. Control of noise, smoke, odors, lighting, and other objectionable features has been provided. Specifically, they can drop inside with height, which is the only possible complaint. Solar rights that the abutters are provided for, we're not seeing someone else, they can all have solar rights if they want as well. Is that right? And it's in our comprehensive plan, talks about being, talks about reliance, talks about. Health and safety, welfare of the community are protected. This is an isolated, single system. This house is not a large system that leads to ordinance requires fences around, children walking up, touching it.
And there is required guarding on the back wall. It's not fixed around, but all wires need guard.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. I now have to ask for abutters or interested parties. Do we have any abutters or interested parties that want to speak that are in the room? Do we have any online? If so, please use the raise your hand. Yeah. Hello, is she there?
Hi. Can you hear?
Can we have your full name and address, please?
Sure. Martha Moncasey, 379 Vanderbilt Lane.
Okay,
I live diagonally across the street, and I was notified because apparently I live within 200 feet. But the property to the north of me, one house, was not notified. And I think everybody in the neighborhood should have been notified, not just people within 200 feet. Because a lot of the houses that are within 200 feet are vacant, under construction, or a second home, and people are actually not there. Also, when the property owner purchased the property, there was a covenant attached to the deed, and the homeowner's covenant specifically excludes any solar systems on that lot, on all lots in the neighborhood. And I think that he should go by the homeowners association and not do this without notifying everybody else. There was a problem on East Terrace, which is in the neighborhood, and somebody built a shed in the back, a tool shed, and everybody sued everybody, and people moved out of the neighborhood because of it. This may cause the same kind of chaos. And I was the only one that was notified. And
okay. Let me address your two issues, the 200-foot notification. That's the ordinance in town. The ordinance states that anyone within 200 feet need to be notified. There's no requirement for anything beyond that. To change that would require changing the ordinance. That's up to the town council. As far as a deed restriction or a covenant on the deed, that's a civil matter. And unfortunately, this board does not entertain civil matters whatsoever. So we don't discuss them. We can't do anything about them. Strictly a civil matter. If there's a neighborhood that has a deed restriction or a covenant in place and someone chooses to violate that, then it's up to those that have that to proceed with a civil matter. Otherwise, there's nothing this board can do about it. Yeah, I'm sure.
I know there's solar
Yeah.
panels in a couple of houses.
Yeah. I know that doesn't satisfy your concerns, but those concerns are out of the realm of this board.
okay, but you're potentially bringing up lawsuits against him if it gets approved and he actually does it.
That's entirely up to them and whoever. It has nothing to do with this board.
So he doesn't have to let anybody else know in the neighborhood that this is happening.
No, they're only required anyone within 200 feet of the property. That's all.
How do I file an objection to that personally? With you?
Well, if you don't agree with the 200-foot variance, I mean,
No, not the 200 foot, the solar panels to begin with in this neighborhood. This is a waterfront neighborhood. It's valuable land and it impacts the whole neighborhood, not just,
well,
and the covenants are in place so that you can't just do whatever you want.
okay, well, there's two things in place here. So first of all, if you believe there's a covenant in their deed and you believe they've violated it, then you have the right to contact an attorney to pursue that. Depending on how the board decides, so I'll err one direction. Let's say that the board decides in favor of this, then you have the right to file in Superior Court and object to the board's decision. You would have to go to Superior Court to change our decision. So in either case, you in all likelihood would have to would have to contact an attorney to either fight a covenant or to challenge the decision, should it be a positive one, from the Zoning Board of Review.
Okay, unfortunately, what happened on East Terrace wasn't known. Somebody put up a shed.
Okay, I can't talk about another piece of property in another area of town. We're strictly working with this particular petition.
Right. But what my point is that that was after the fact, after it was built.
I understand that, but that doesn't even pertain to this petition,
Okay.
okay? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have anybody else? Now, Ben, do you have the letters?
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 of the 3. in my
Okay.
package.
2 of the 3. Which one are you missing?
I'm not sure. I don't know which
You
direction.
should have one from David Marlin on behalf of Peter Fire.
That's the one that appears to be missing.
Do you have that there, Leah? Okay,
I have an Amit and Marissa Anand and a,
Okay.
Silva Thomas Martland.
Yeah.
That's one. The second is from Kevin and Amy Nolan at 409.
Okay, it's the Nolan one that I'm missing. I do have this one, sir.
So that one, and the third is from Anita and Marissa.
Yes, and I have that.
Okay. You want to read those for the record, Mr. Furell?
Yes, sir. 2, Zoning Board of Review from Kevin and Amy Nolan. Dear members of the Portsmouth Zoning Board, our abutting neighbors, Joe and Mary Studlick, have applied for a permit to install a ground-based residential solar array at 424 Vanderbilt Lane. We support their application and have no issues with their current plans as we understand them. Sincerely, the authors. The next letter that I have is from Amit and Marisa Anand. This letter is to give strong support to our abutting neighbors, Joe and Mary Studlick, who have applied for a permit for the installation of a ground-based residential solar array. Please feel free to call us at phone number provided should you need further information or have questions. Sincerely yours, the authors. Is from Silva and Thomas Martland. Dear Mr. Chappelle, I am writing on behalf of Peter Kyriakis. My apologies. The owner of 410 Vanderbilt Lane, which directly abuts 424 Vanderbilt Lane. Thank you for providing my client with the revised plans and explaining the various changes. Based on the changes, including a 22-foot setback, lowering the northern array to a height of 8 foot 5 inches, and adding some additional screening, my client has no objection to the plans. Please let me know if you need anything further. Signed, the authors. That's the last letter, sir.
Okay, can I see that one? John, can you pass it? Thanks. Got it.
And we modified the plans before you, so the current plan is actually filed. And the
Okay.
actual plan is 8.5 feet.
So it meets this.
Before you meet it. It technically doesn't do it, it just decided to change. So I think the best way to do that satisfy Mr. Martin's condition of approval. Talking about it, whether two extra. So in the line of, that will further go towards the property line. Right now, they stop about 20 feet from the property line. If they go 24 feet, then you kind of time it so that when he looks out, if he needs it, it would block the way. But if he doesn't need it, it would leave this open corridor. So it's a kind of, that's really good. Everybody's view is kind of sideways across the neighbor's yard.
And we all know about views. They're not right.
But still, we, you know.
I understand. Just my-
Preserve everybody, make them happy every time we come.
For the record, my personal opinion on trying to put a condition for potential additional screening is sort of vague and obtuse. You know, what is that? I mean, the Studwicks could put something in and they may say it's not enough. My personal opinion is I would leave it as a good neighbor faith and faith thing, if that, but that's just me. I don't know if any other member of the board wants to put a condition on it, but
I assure you, when you fair enough to come out and meet with us, point out what you want.
Right.
And write that letter.
Right.
What you ask for.
okay. Anything else, Mr. Chappelle?
And because he's not even completely built yet. He's got to wait till he has a second story deck to know where he wants his tree. It's not a problem. But we will accommodate that.
Anything else?
No, thank
Any other
Mr.
questions?
Chairman,
Sure.
may I give this back to Mr. Chappelle? I'm
Yeah,
not
we have a
sure.
copy in the
Yeah.
file, right, Leah? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I just have a quick question for the record. Can I get?
Yeah.
SABE.
All set, Leah?
Yes.
Okay. All righty, so moving on, Joseph Studwick, owner, Newport Solar, Inc. Before the board, tax assessors map 54, lot 202, seeking a special use permit to install a ground-mounted solar array. You want to tackle this one, Mr. Furell?
Yes, sir.
Go for
Thank
it.
you. I vote to approve. Our zoning ordinance recognizes the small solar electrical array as an accessory use to the primary, in this case, a residential use. This installation satisfies engineering and safety criteria, as well as a special use permit criteria. The implementation is the least relief necessary, as a special use permit is required for any medium solar electrical system. To deny the permit would be to deny the permit would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the reasonable use and enjoyment of their property, and constitute more than a mere inconvenience. So I vote to approve the special use permit.
All righty. Mr. Reposa?
And I also vote to approve for reasons stated by Mr. Furell.
Okay, Ms. Horowitz?
I vote to approve for reasons previously stated.
Okay, Mr. Donovan?
I vote to approve for reasons stated by Mr. Furell.
Thank you. Chairman also votes to approve for reasons stated by Mr. Furell. Again, if you go through all the special use criteria, it will not be detrimental to the surrounding area. It will be compatible with neighboring land uses, will not create a nuisance or a hazard in the neighborhood. It provides adequate protection to the surrounding property, safe vehicular access, control of noise, smoke, odors, lighting, sole rights of abutters, and is in conformance with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan. So it has been approved, Mr. Chairman. So it has been approved. All righty. Much paper. Okay, next item on the agenda is a petition by George and Marie Corey for 905 Wapping Road, seeking a dimensional variance. To reduce their frontage from 62 feet to 20 feet at present it's substandard. Teresa, sitting on this one will be Mr. Borden, Mr. Furell, Reposa, Ms. Horowitz, myself, and the alternate will be Mr. Harris. Mr. Chappelle, it's a Chappelle night.
Younger. or,
And we appreciate that.
Pat Chappelle on behalf of George Corey, in order of both 905 and 921 Lobby Road. I don't know if everybody has a site.
We do. We do.
I'll throw a couple pictures. Pass out. I'm not used to such a full panel here, so I'm a little short.
Okay. We can share as well. Do you want to admit these as an exhibit?
Please, yeah, they're just
All right.
pictures from the street. So
So
we can-
Ben, these will be marked exhibit 1.
Yes, sir.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. This is the one who they want to move the lot. Okay, Mr.
All
Chappelle.
right, so you probably recognize this petition, it's been on the agenda for a number of months.
Right.
And, going back and forth between planning board here. So I put the horse's cart first, here today seeking the front yard variance. It would then go to the planning board as an administrative subdivision and be approved by the after. So if you look at your site plan, the two lots that we are talking about are lot 8 and lot 8A. Both lots are zone R30. You'll notice that you can read the fine print, the proposed area of both lots, both before and after the proposed move of the lot line, both satisfy the 30,000 square foot area requirement. So even if this is approved, the only relief being sought is that front yard, the frontage and walking. As if you, I don't know if there's in color or not, but the line further to the north, this dotted line to be removed, is located currently running alongside the driveway of lot 8A, which if you look at that first picture that I handed you, that is a picture of you standing on Walking Road, looking down that driveway. You see that it lines up with kind of the few natural breaks in the stone wall. You'll also notice in that picture a number of large mature trees. Is the purpose of this proposed is that those trees have become a very near and dear part of Mr. Ford's property over the years, and as she's getting on in life, I'm worried that one day the lot 8 might sell, and he'll wake up in the morning and the buyer will have cut down those trees that are either right on that lot line or clearly on the other side on lot 8. Now, if you look at the second picture that I provided, that is an image standing on Walking Road, looking at the natural opening stone wall that would be the driveway back to lot 8. Notice lot 8 is an irregularly shaped lot, what I call it a flagship lot. So that front portion that is really going to be the portion affected really only was meant to be, only would ever be a driveway back to the beefier portion of this lot. So again, the purpose of moving the line from its current location to where it is now is to ensure that those trees remain a portion of, or a part of Mr. Corey's property where he lives in his house on lot 8A with his wife. And the other reason for the placement of it is, as you can see, very old stone wall on Walking Road that kind of naturally falls right there where a driveway would go. So we place the line just on the opposite side of that. So this is a request for a dimensional variance. Unfortunately, Mr. Corey could not be here this evening. minute. Before we allow, I would just run through criteria briefly. Hardship, that is based on the characteristics of the land. Obviously, this lot being shaped and stone wall adds to the hardship it's faced. It's not caused by prior action of the applicant supported in the subdivision under some odd-year-old trees. Just trying to move forward. The relocation of the lot line would not alter the general character of the surrounding area if it's granted. The relief being sought is necessary as it just falls on the other side of those trees and allows access to some of the other side of that stone wall, the back portion of lot 8. Finally, if the petition is not granted, it amounts to more than a mere inconvenience or race as trees.
Okay, I have a couple questions, Mr. Chappelle. The primary reason to move the lot line is the trees,
Trees and yard
but it's the trees. At any point in time, we could have a severe heavy snow and ice storm that could take the trees out.
you see in the pictures, there are.
I understand that. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the mere inconvenience on this one, because again, we're talking trees, and I understand people get attached to trees and yards and things as we get older. But you're trying to reduce what is already a substandard, or, the lot really doesn't even meet dimensional variances now because the frontage isn't there, but it already exists, but you're trying to reduce that even more. And by more than 50% of what it is. And if I read correctly, which I don't get that. Oh, yes, I do. And not that it wouldn't, that the lot still meets the overall square footage, you're reducing that as well. I mean, that's what I'm gathering is just the trees.
Well, it's one of the trees, but I think when you look at it, these trees you'll see have been there for hundreds of years. They're massive trees. And even real estate world values trees pretty highly. They'll cut down the wrong tree on someone else's property and see how much you can sue for it.
I
They
have-
are valued very.
Yeah, I do happen to notice that the one in the front looks dead.
That needs to go.
Yeah, but that's my point. That's my point right there.
But it's one of, that's one of many trees, and it's more than that, it's the portion of land that he's been maintaining. It's part of his yard on that property.
Right. Even though it wasn't his property.
Well, he owns it,
Oh, okay,
but
got it.
So is he hoping to, once this gets resolved, sell the second property? Is that the plan?
it's not the immediate plan, but he's older. Realistic that, his fear is that this property that he owns for his family is going to lose these trees that, the shade and are also a screening.
Mr. Chairman,
Spiky terrain.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chappelle, you've said a few things concerning the hardship, and I just want to narrow this down to the hardship is preserving these trees.
Trees in the enjoyment and use that brings to the property. As you know, the property plus Newport National Golf Course. So screening from that is fine for
Okay. And it's preserving the trees from a currently non-existent hazard. No one has said, I'm buying the lot and I'm going to cut down the trees.
That's correct, but if he does decide to sell the lot, this would
Correct, but there's no threat on the immediate horizon. No, sort of documented threat to these trees. This is a what if.
There's no purchase,
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
but it's not a,
It's kind of a hypothetical.
it is, but it's something that is more likely.
Why would you say that as an attorney? Why would you say it's more likely than not that someone would cut down these trees?
More likely than not that you will have to sell the property if you get it.
Okay, but it's not more likely than not that the trees, you don't have any inside knowledge that, okay, cool. All right, thank you very much.
I hope it
Mr. Chappelle, I have a follow-up question based on one that Mr. Furell asked. So one of the things is, you talked about them, he abuts Newport National and these trees create a buffer and a safety thing. But these seems to be at the front of the property and Newport National's on the side and the back of the property, and these trees have no impact whatsoever. Even as bad a golfer as I am, I don't think I could hit a ball near those trees.
Well, the trees start at the rear of the property.
Well, I understand that, you know, you're talking just the frontage in the back, so,
Could have drawn a line that saves the trees in the back and then cuts over, but it's already in a regular lot. I don't believe that would be
right,
appealing to the board.
sure. Any other questions, Mr. Borden, any?
One question I have is, technically, he wants to save the trees, but he would save the trees by not selling the lot also. Is that correct?
It is, but.
Good point, Mr. Donovan.
Mr. Chappelle, is there a existing driveway on lot 8? Other than that grass?
No, if you look at that, that second picture, so it's not a driveway, but it's really grass that has been driven.
Right.
There's an existing barn.
And I assume they access that, I'm guessing, by the existing driveway and then kind of come over in the back, because it doesn't look like anybody drive, it looks like they drive in or over, but
There's a car in the grass.
yeah, but that could be going up and
Yeah.
over. Yeah,
Would it be possible to preserve the trees by altering the front of the property line, turning it at Popping Road?
Sorry, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I think
I know exactly what you're
that's-
saying.
But that's the point that I was getting to earlier, where to preserve the trees and make less of an impact in front would create almost a zigzag line on a lot that already looks like a flag.
So the hang up here is, if you just came in, there's no trees, and you just want to move his lot line. The only argument or the issue we have is that it doesn't have frontage. He's just decreasing a non-conforming lot as it is.
Yeah,
In front of
you're
that
decreasing
property,
it
But there's
from
many-
67 feet to 20 feet.
No, I'm not, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's the only thing we're really,
Right.
There's a number
Aside
that
from-
the
aside
board
from the
would be
trees,
more
you just look at
satisfied
this.
with.
Yeah.
You can certainly entertain a higher number.
Well, no, because you may be challenged by the stone wall ordinance.
That's why it is where it is.
What is the stone wall ordinance?
You can't tear any stone walls down or
But you still
modify them.
leave.
In other words,
What's
they
very
couldn't
Why
re,
can't they do something like
it's already
this?
torn down.
Why can't they go straight down?
that's exactly
There.
what,
And leave the opening in the
Harris-
stone wall?
And I see what, I think it's what I was talking about earlier.
That's exactly.
Right, so that's
That's,
exactly.
but
what-
that's not making it harder to, because you're still not going to be building down there. So the fact that they've gone straight as opposed to
right,
an
so
angle
that-
is not affecting the buildable area in theory.
I agree, that front portion will only ever be a drive. You see these every day.
Right.
There's no way you put a building on a front portion. That proposed zigzag is exactly what I was trying to avoid, for the mere fact that I didn't think that both you and the planning board would look at that as something that would be appealing.
it's always with us. I don't know about the planning board. With us, it's,
It already looks like that.
with us, it's the least relief necessary and a hardship that amounts to more than a mere inconvenience. Okay, anything else you want to add, Mr. Chappelle?
up there. and it's still at the
No,
19.
I would just. If there is a number other than 20 that the board would be more comfortable.
Well, it's not up to the board to decide what you should do. It's what you're proposing to do. As always, you always have the right to continue and come back and modify if you'd like to, but that's entirely up to you. Keeping in mind that if it's denied, it's 1 year before you can come back, unless it's considered a major modification to the original petition.
That
Mhm.
I would move to amend and just condition it on the approval of the planning board with a new plan, but just amend to not, basically Sue's drawings, not decrease the frontage at all. And just have it jot back.
Well, if you're not decreasing it at all, then you don't need us. So if you're gonna go that route,
So, well,
you can withdraw without request to withdraw,
I think with Mr. Corey not being here, I think I'd be more comfortable
continuing.
asking for a continuance. If he's okay with this proposal,
Right,
then obviously next month.
then you don't need
I'll
us.
just withdraw it.
Right, exactly.
Hopefully they'll find it.
So is that your request to continue?
That is.
Okay. Could I have a motion to continue the petition of Georgia Marie Corey to our regularly scheduled meeting of June 16th? Do I have a second? A second.
Make a second.
Motion's been made and second to continue the petition of Georgia Marie Corey to our next scheduled meeting of June 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's been continued, Mr. Chappell. All right. Moving right along. It's up to them. As long as they keep- Yeah. Yep. Okay, next item on the agenda is a petition by Tesla Company, Dewberry and Matt Burke, owner 3302 East Main Road LLC. Is anyone on from that? Pardon? Hmm. Nope. Not listed on my petition at all. We can allow them to speak. Hello? Is it?
Hi, this is Ed. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Noteworthy, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I don't see your name anywhere on this petition whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, so Matt Burke is our permitting specialist that submits the permits on our behalf for our engineering team. I'm Ed Noseworthy, I'm the design manager direct for Tesla. So I apologize if my name wasn't included, but I would like to present and speak on behalf of Tesla, if that's okay.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have anything on record that says who you are. And unfortunately, our ordinance says you'd be allowed if we had something from the owner, or in this case, I'd even accept from the company that says that you can speak on their behalf. The only thing I have here is Dewberry and Matt Burke and the owners of 3302 East Main Road, except, hang on, now it's coming. I didn't get this piece. Okay, Mr. Noseworthy, I do have something in front of me.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. All righty. So tell us what you're proposing.
Great, yeah, and again, my name's Ed Noseworthy. I'm the design manager in the Northeast for Tesla. Thank you for seeing us tonight. We really appreciate it. So yeah, Tesla is proposing to install 8 electric vehicle DC fast charge posts at 3302 East Main Road in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. This is an existing Neon convenience store location We have a handful of sites with Neon and agreements with them, and they've been a great partner to work with. And they provide sort of like a great amenity for our customers while they charge. They can, grab a coffee, use the bathroom, grab a snack while they charge for a few minutes. So it's a sort of a great partnership. And this site also has great proximity to Route 24 and Route 114. So we know our customers will be excited about being able to get on and off these main roads quickly. So also we need some coverage in this area, sort of fills a nice gap in our network. So as far as the nuts and bolts of the build itself, like I said, we're proposing 8 DC fast charge posts. These posts get installed directly behind the curb line of the parking stalls. In this particular case, we are installing the posts in the 6 existing parking stalls to the right of the store. And we are also proposing to add 2 additional parking stalls. So that'll be a total of 8 parking stalls with 8 charge posts. We also have some electrical equipment that feeds these posts, including a utility transformer from National Grid, a panel board, and 2 supercharger cabinets, which essentially handles like the AC to DC rectification for the voltage. So this electrical equipment that feeds the DC post will be installed like on the immediate adjacent existing landscaped area. So yeah, we're seeking a modification to a previously approved special permit. And also the one caveat is we're also seeking a dimensional variance for the side yard setback for the charge posts. So a little more sort of on the setback variance and why we're requesting it. So our charge posts have to be installed in a parking stall naturally, because that's where our customers park and connect to charge. So the existing setbacks on this property are sort of unique because they extend beyond or into all of the existing parking stalls here. So essentially any parking stalls that we chose would be a potential conflict with the setbacks. So we chose the area we did and the stalls that we did because this is where we'll have the least impact on the setbacks on the entire site. And like by choosing this location, we are avoiding the setback entirely with all of our equipment and all but 4 of our charge posts. So essentially just the last 4 charge posts impede on the setback a little bit, but we're able to avoid it with the other 4 charge posts and all of our electrical equipment. So, anywhere else on site, all of our equipment and posts would be within the setback. So we sort of chose this to achieve that lesser impact. And also with these stalls sort of being to the side and behind the store, as opposed to the other parking stalls that are sort of in front and to the side of the store, we think it'll be the safest place for our customers to charge. So yeah, that's really the install at a high level, and obviously happy to try to answer any questions.
Okay, first of all, could I ask, is there any way to turn the volume up at all so we can hear them a little bit better? Very much appreciate it. Okay, so Mr. Noseworthy, and just, I'm going to throw this out for the record. So, and I don't know if this ever occurred, but when we granted the original special use permit for this back in whenever it was, 2009, there was a 5th condition placed on this that 1 year from the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, a new traffic study had to be submitted to the board of review. I don't recall ever seeing that. Does anyone else? John, you were here then. Yeah. I'm throwing that out there because it would seem to me that if that's not on file, then they never fully completed all the requirements of the original special use permit. Just putting it out there. Okay, so Mr. Noseworthy, a number of questions I have, and I'm sure other board members have as well. So you want to increase the number of parking spaces from the existing 6 to 8, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you, those newer spaces are going to be more to the, I want to say south, or are they going to be more to the north?
Yeah, so both. They're really kind of bookending that existing parking row, if you will. And the reason we chose to do that is because So if you're looking to the north, or I guess the left or the west, how you're looking at it, there, where our equipment is, there's sort of a steeper elevation change. So we can carve out one more stall before we start to hit more of a, like a severe elevation change. So the best way we saw to deal with that is by carving out additional stalls on either side, essentially.
Okay, so that being said, after that last space is where your superchargers, your rectifiers, transformers, et cetera, are gonna be, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. You do know what's beyond that, don't you? On that property?
I'm sorry, when you say beyond it, what
As
do you
you
mean?
continue just past that, there is a cemetery.
Oh, yes, like on the other side of it, yes.
Right. Well, right in the corner, so you're gonna be encroaching more towards that cemetery again.
Yes, we believe it to be relatively minimal. I want to say it's like, if you're talking about the equipment area, it's probably like 20 feet from where the end of the existing stall is into that sort of grass area beyond the stalls.
Right, okay, so. Okay, I'm running down my thing here, so. Noise from transformers, rectifiers, et cetera. What kind of noise do these provide? Is there some sort of low frequency hum that come through these? Like a normal transformer will have?
Yeah, maybe from the transformer slightly, nothing from our equipment for sure. But the National Grid transformer may have something minimal. I mean, I'm on a lot of sites. We build a lot of sites with National Grid, and I don't ever really notice anything being around them a lot. So maybe ever so slightly, but nothing. I mean, even if you were standing at the store, you wouldn't be able to hear anything. So I would like to think that is hopefully negligible, even if there is some type of a minimal humming or something from the transformer.
Standing at the store, I could understand that, but being the neighbor that abuts right where you're at on a summer night, you think they might hear that?
I don't. I was at a site walk this week at an N-Grid site where we're looking to expand, where we have an existing transformer and there's no noise. So, I mean, I'm comfortable saying that just from my experience building these size transformers with National Grid with these sites over the past 5 years, we've never heard a complaint on them. And I've never sort of noticed anything that would, upset a neighbor or anything like that.
Okay, and now I'm looking, there is, let's see, proposed light post enabled non-illuminated signs, okay. What about lighting back in this area?
Yeah, so my apologies, I may have forgot to mention this in my description, but we do propose one low profile light pole in the middle of our proposed 8 posts. And the reason we do that is because the charging is available 24/7. Some of our customers are charging at night. And of course, we want it to be well lit and safe for them. The intent of the lighting, of course, is to just shine on our stalls and not beyond. So not to cause a nuisance to any of the surrounding areas, but enough for our customers if they wanted to get out and, they could find their keys and have a little bit of light to shine on top of the cars just over the stalls.
Okay, so. So you're proposing a 24/7 operation now,
The charging will be available 24/7, yes.
which means potentially cars could be going in and out 24/7.
Correct.
I mean, right up against the abutter neighbor's property. So why there and why not directly behind the service station where there's 3 spots now and expand over there where it would have minimal impact on anyone?
Yeah, so, we also sort of take into account where the property owner prefers us as well. And I think with those 3 spots, we sort of, the reason we land on the number eight charge posts is because that's the minimum size sites that will build. So I don't know how much you know about sort of the dynamics of EV charging, but Tesla owns 75 to 80% market share. So we do expect quite a few charge sessions. And if we open less than 8 stalls, it becomes sort of congested and customers have to wait to charge. And of course, that's a poor customer experience. So where we have the existing 6 stalls, it makes constructability a lot easier, a lot quicker, a lot less intrusive on the property, because we're only having to carve out the 2. And like sort of taking, I guess, all of that into account is how we landed on the stalls where we did.
Okay, but was the impact on neighboring properties, as is required by a special use permit, ever considered? I hear what you're saying about construction costs, but what about the impact on neighboring properties? Is that being taken into consideration? I'm just thinking, if I'm the neighbor there that has very low impact right now, you get some cars parked there primarily during the day and that's it, not at night. And now all of a sudden you could have cars coming and going there. Potential of hum, we don't know whether there would be or not. Again, it goes back to my question, why not keep it away from neighboring properties?
Yeah, so I think there were a couple more factors at play too. If we were to carve out more additional stalls in the area that you're alluding to, there are existing propane tanks, I believe, that we would run into sort of a conflict with. We wouldn't be able to extend the stalls as much as we would like. Also in this area, the elevation is pretty severe on that like grass hill, if you will. So, it becomes sort of, again, like keeping the grade in level parking stalls becomes more difficult. We can't go over those propane tanks. And I also think there would be like some disruption for delivery trucks that drive around the back of the building. And we were wanting to avoid that. We try to avoid like the path of these delivery trucks because naturally, like a lot of our customers charge and get out of the car, they use the amenity, and not being sort of, I guess, in a busier area where delivery trucks are parked and sitting idle and maybe not seeing something when they get in and out sort of plays into our decision making as well.
Okay. Is there any proposed additional screening to the abutting properties other than what exists?
So we did propose some screening around our proposed electrical equipment, just to sort of, for that reason, to screen it in, keep with the nice aesthetics of the existing property. And it sort of fits what's there now. So we did propose some arborvitaes around the equipment. We think it'll, look nicer and help it blend in with the site.
All right, and what, the low-level lighting, I see where your proposal is to remove an existing pole and redo it. What would the height of that proposed pole be?
Yeah, let me just look it up here. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm giving you the correct height.
Appreciate that.
I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. Let's see. So I think it's 15 feet.
Seems high. Okay.
But, the lighting is something that we sort of do, again, want to keep our customers safe. And this is something, a light that we've found over time that sort of height and the way we angle the light sort of sprays the light over the stalls, but nothing further. But naturally, if there's something else you prefer, that's something we're totally open to.
Only, and again, only in the respect that it is abutting a property very close is, and again, it's your petition, but, you know, why not smaller 4-foot high downlighting, multiple ones along the roads that would light the area?
Yeah, we could do something like that. We could scrap the light altogether, if that's something that's a consideration, because we are in relative close proximity. So that's something we'd be happy to do as well.
I've got all my questions asked. Questions from the board? Board? No, Mr. Furrow?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of questions. Mr. Noseworthy, I really don't understand EV charging. Is this installation specifically limited to Tesla automobiles?
Yeah, so it is for right now, but we have begun opening up our network. So that has always been the intention. And our CEO has been public about that. So right now in Europe, so I think the UK, the Netherlands, parts of Belgium, Germany, we've begun opening up this network. So it's available to all EVs, and that is going to start to take place in the United States soon as well. So for right now, yes, but short sort of future, it'll be universal charging.
And do you have an estimate of how many vehicles, say per hour or per day, will be pulling in and out of this, particularly during the hours when the rest of the facility is closed?
Yeah, so I think most of our customers charge, during normal business hours, just like when most people are on the roads. We have some surrounding sites. We have sites we just opened one up in Dartmouth. We have a site in Seekonk. We have a site in Warwick that sort of surround this site. And we sort of judge it by charge sessions per month. So our site in Warwick, for instance, which is maybe 20, 30 miles away, sees between, I just looked it up, between 1,000 and 1,200 charge sessions per month. And we expect this site to have sort of similar usage.
Okay, but you don't have any data on the distribution over time, because typically, and we probably did this for this gas station also, we would limit the times of deliveries and things like that so that abutters can sleep through the night. And in other, not charging situations, but where we've had suggestions of 24-hour operations, like say auto tellers, we were very interested in usage during that off-peak hour and lighting from the point of view of its impact on abutters, who, maybe it's reasonable to have some impact during normal business hours, but when we get into 24/7, then we may be unduly sort of imposing on the abutters. But thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Other questions? None?
I got one question. Is there any data on the times of day? Like after hours, after say 6, 7 o'clock? Do you know if we break that down to kind of follow up on Ben's question? What's the nightly charge? You think it's going to be similar to Warwick? You have the charges per, after hours data?
Yeah, so I don't have that readily available. I can certainly ask our back-end teams who monitor that type of stuff to provide it. I know it's going to be really minimal, because just like normal sort of travelers, there's not a lot of people that are traveling overnight. So it's going to be a small percentage of our total charge sessions. And I could look into what that number might be at some of the surrounding sites and possibly get back to you, but I don't have that. Yeah.
Just kind of a question to help, like I said, what Ben asked earlier to kind of substantiate how much business there would be at night, so.
Yeah, the good thing about our cars is too, they don't make any noise. It's like an electric golf cart. So it's not like a big Mack truck going back there that has a loud idling.
Yeah.
It's zero noise, which is nice.
No, but people getting in and out of the cars makes noise.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Just thank you for the time. We really appreciate you seeing us.
All right, I have to ask for abutters or interested parties that may speak on this. Do we have any? First of all, do we have any letters in the file, Mr. Farrell?
I'm looking for them now, sir, and I do not see any.
Okay. It looks like we potentially have one person asking a question. No, that's just, okay. All right, any other questions from the board?
One other question, I guess they're losing 6 parking spaces for the building.
Right. But they used to have a drive-through was originally there, which I don't believe is used anymore. I personally go by there a lot and I've never seen that really used other than for a couple cars. I've never seen that parking lot.
I didn't know if
Yeah.
it changed based on rules. or
And-
anything.
Yeah.
I can add just a bit more context to that if it's helpful. So, our charge posts are there to naturally to let our customers know that charging is available, but we don't police our stalls or tow cars. So technically anyone could park there, but we just hope they would park there sort of logically last because charging is available. But we don't consider it like a net parking stall loss for that reason because anyone could park there.
I actually do have one question. Mr.
Sure, go
President.
ahead.
I'm not very familiar with the Tesla or electric car charging process. When you plug in the car or when it's completed charging or when these stations complete charging, is there any noise that is emitted from them? Do they beep? Do they alert you to that? That the charger's in use or it's completed charging?
No noise at all. It's all built in either through the user interface in your car where you can see when it's done, or there's an app in your phone where you can just look and see if the car is done charging. And you take a look at your screen, but there's no noise or like a bing or anything like that.
Okay.
You good, Langdon?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose some conditions prior to the vote.
Good, I've got some too, but I'll let you go first, Mr.
I'd
Borden.
like to propose that a landscape buffer be placed, as the petitioner had suggested, in the areas that are being proposed for the electrical vehicle charging. And also propose that downward lighting exist and that it's minimal. And lastly, that it's a given, but they be in compliance with the noise ordinance in regards to noise from the transformers.
All right, and I will, if I may, add one to Mr. Borden's to make it a potential third condition. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm just trying to follow up that if the follow-up traffic study that was required back when the original special use permit was granted, if that is not on file, that prior to the issuance of the special use permit for this, if it's approved, must be completed. Because that will determine whether Sequoia Lane gets shut down or not. Okay, so we have a proposal for 3 conditions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
relative to your last proposal,
yes,
as well as having that traffic study be submitted, we should also review it.
yeah,
Because if they just turn it in and it's not positive, we won't know it. The special use permit will be granted.
true. I'll go with that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mr.
yep,
Chairman, I would just raise the question from a procedural perspective, whether or not we need to continue this so this board can review it, or it's gonna be in the building inspection department's hand.
well, if it's on file, then it's a moot point. It's already there. If it was never done, that's a whole nother issue.
And I'm totally supportive of that. I was just raising
Yeah.
the question whether or not this board has to revisit it or not.
How would that, let me go to Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin, so let's say that we place these conditions on it. One would be that if that original follow-up traffic study was never done and they have to do it, and the issuance of the special use permit is hinging on that, they wouldn't get special use permit till we reviewed the traffic study, correct? Approval. If it's not on file. Okay, just trying to think through that one. I hate to continue another petition, but it might be wise along those lines, Mr. Borden. You're a wise man. Yeah. Do you understand where we're going, Mr. Noseworthy?
Yes, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. So could I just ask if this already was submitted? And like you said, if there's potential for it to be a moot point, is there still an opportunity to potentially vote tonight? Just because I would, the only reason I ask is we're sort of prime building months up here in the Northeast, and I would just hate to see us get delayed further into the year if it's all possible to still make it like a conditional approval, if that's the way the vote's going to go. That's something I think we would prefer if possible.
Well, here's the thing, we could, but to Mr. Gavin's point is if we say it's conditional that, the traffic study, if it's not on file, needs to be done, that means you don't get the permit anyway. And basically, if I were to vote tonight and say, okay, I'll do it on this, conditionally that it's approved if in fact that follow-up traffic study is on file in the building inspector's office. However, if it's not, then I deny the petition until we get a traffic study.
Would you deny it, or would you just push it out at that point?
I wouldn't push it out at that point. I mean, that's what I'm asking for right now. It gives, I understand you're in this tight window, but at the end of the day, that was a bone of contention back when that development was there. And I got to be honest with you, I was there this morning getting fuel and went to leave, and somebody kind of cut through the Sequoia Lane right at me as I was going out the in and out exit on that thing. So I would be curious what the traffic study says.
Okay, yeah, I was just sort of thinking it through in my head as well.
And this would, again, this may, I understand you're under the time constraints, but think about this, the questions that are coming out, the low level lighting. Mr. Borden wants it shined downward. You heard my thing. Can we not go with possibly 4-foot lighting poles more along the strip of chargers there so there's less impact on the neighbors?
Yeah,
If it's continued, you can provide all that data to us. And then we can make a good educated decision. We don't want to prolong anything as much as you don't want it prolonged. And I mean, we can vote tonight. It's entirely your decision, but I think you understand what the board is looking for. We're just trying to do our due diligence.
Oh, of course, yeah. And like I said, if the lighting was an issue, we're happy to remove the lighting altogether. So that's something that we're totally happy to accommodate. So yeah, and just sort of I think it's like a unique circumstance with the traffic study from 2009 not knowing. So I was sort of thinking it through in my head as well as you were chatting about it. But obviously, we want to do whatever the board recommends, and we'll go with, if you think it's better to sort of push this out, then that's what we'll do.
I do, and I will add this to that if that traffic study is not on file, it's not necessarily up to you, it's up to the property owner to have it done and on file. But you may want to get some data for the board on your other areas that are in use as to how they're being operated, what their kind of charging times are now, what they're seeing there. That would help the board.
Okay, yeah, and I can certainly do that. I just guess one other nugget to keep in mind, these charging stations, these DC fast charging stations are meant for people who are traveling through the area that maybe have traveled for 5 hours. So they want to put a couple 100 miles of charge on their car in 20, 30 minutes. But 80% of our charging as a whole still occurs at home. So most people are charging overnight. in the garage. So again, I will see if I can pull that data, but I do know that it's going to be really minimal amount of people that are charging overnight.
And just remember, we are in a tourist area, so this would probably get used more than possibly other areas with people traveling down to Newport, et cetera.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so could I have a motion to continue this petition to our regularly scheduled meeting of June 16th?
So moved.
Second,
Second that.
motion's been made and second to continue the petition of Tesla, CO Dewberry and Matt Burke, owners of 3302 East Main Road LLC, to our regular scheduled meeting of June 16th. All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Noseworthy.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, you as well. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
Good, how you doing?
Good, thank you. You're welcome. Welcome. This is my first board.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure. Nice to see you again.
You've been doing this for a while now, huh?
All right, mic's back on, please. Folks, mic's back on. Zoning Board of Review is back in session. Next item on the agenda is a petition by Paulo Azevedo seeking a dimensional variance for side yard setbacks, having multiple storage sheds. Locating the storage shed outside of the rear yard, construct a 1,200-foot storage shed located at 24 West Shore Road. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth. Full name and address for Teresa, please. Okay, do you have anything from him?
Not that.
But you testify he is your father? Okay, okay, and your name is? Bruno, okay. So, Bruno, I know the property. So before you go too far, I'm trying to. As I understand it, he was cited by the building inspector, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it for that? I'm gonna call it a temporary structure. It looks like it's like a temporary carport.
Yes,
Is that what we're talking about?
yes.
Right, but it's in the driveway. It's in the driveway, correct?
It is, drivers to the right of the property, it's structures to the left. This is driving now.
All right, can you come up here just a quick minute? Is that what we're talking about? Left. Okay, okay. So now it's on the left side.
Yes.
It's not the trailer that's there. It's that
It's a mobile storage account.
carport thing that's over there. Okay, got it. Used to be in the driveway.
There was something there, that's the one. There was a temporary tent in the after driveway.
Right.
Before we just looked at. Right now, it's just the driveway on the right side.
Okay,
The property,
right.
All right.
So explain to us why he needs that.
Where he likes to keep things, car or motorcycle.
Right. And he does have a shed in the rear.
Yeah, the actual shed.
Right, which is allowed by right. But this is fairly big though. It's 60 feet by 20 feet. I mean, so he keeps a motorcycle in it. What else?
Car, so I'll go to the shop.
Anybody got any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Furell.
Mr. Azevedo, the home doesn't have a garage, right?
No,
Does it have a basement?
it doesn't.
Okay, but no one car or two car garage.
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, it's that. Which is now over here. And you can see on his thing, it's a 20 by 64 by 10. Yeah, it is bigger than that.
Yeah.
So this particular proposed storage unit, it's bigger than what was originally in the driveway, right?
Yes, it's a lot bigger. The one that's in the
Yeah.
driveway, which has been long.
Right.
It's a lot smaller.
Yep. pictures, Mr. Borden? I don't know if you saw the picture of it. Too. Volume, square footage, to like a two-car garage. The two-car garage be like 20 by 20.
24 by 24.
So,
24 by 24.
right, which is how many square feet?
Perhaps like we're saying that this is for a motorcycle, a car, and then tools and other things.
In a
to work
workshop.
on it. Yeah.
In a workshop. Right, what was it, Sue?
576
All right,
is a regular two-car
This is for
garage.
temporary
this,
structure.
and this is 20 by 60, so that's,
Double, so this is a full-car garage,
it's a
basically.
4-car garage, basically. So the question becomes, even if allowed, is it the least really necessary type thing?
This is temporary. This is-
Yeah, it can be moved, it can be moved.
What do we, what is it? What do we? Basing our decision on, is it a permanent structure, is it temporary structure? Because there's,
Maybe consider applying for,
Well,
right now, I'm just trying to avoid
so the lot coverage, is it it's a permanent, is it temporary, does it hold to certain standards for temporary buildings, and what do we?
if it's not,
Timeframe on it?
if it's not listed in the ordinance, you go by the next closest thing. So is it considered a storage shed? Storage shed isn't necessarily permanent, right?
Perhaps-
Yes, Mr. Board,
Mr. Chairman, not to open up Pandora's box, but
go for it.
based on the judge's ruling in the Fontaine case,
Mhm.
does the next closest thing in the ordinance apply? Or does it not? Is this board bound by what's in the ordinance?
Mr. Gavin?
Yes, I mean, that was a good.
Right.
If it doesn't fit, it clearly doesn't fit in with anything. For
Right.
example, recreational things and like.
Yeah.
Not a list of basketball court.
Right, right. So we, in that case, we went by the,
Recreational.
right, right. In this particular case, the next closest thing would be probably a storage shed facility. Yeah, see, our ordinance is one of those that if it's, unlike others, if it's not listed, we go by the next closest potential thing. Where other ordinances are, if it's not listed, it's not allowed.
Right, but the judge. Found that invalid, it's not vacated. There's not a, solar facility wasn't specifically listed in found that the ordinance had to specifically list things or they're.
Right,
To my point.
In other words, you can't use that.
yeah,
You can't use that provision anymore if someone comes in with a proposal that's not listed and you can't reasonably fit it in with something that's already listed, then you need to go to amend the table of uses.
right. Okay,
I mean, the town council would need to.
right. Okay. So that means if it's not listed on our table of uses, it's,
But it's an excessive. Sure, right?
no. Petitions for a 7-foot variance of side yard of zone R20 to be used for storage purposes, but it's proposed storage unit tent for personal tools and additional storage. And shed not in the rear yard.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask another question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Azevedo,
Azevedo.
Azevedo, sorry. Prior to this being there, to this storage unit being there, where did your father put his tools?
Oh, that was there when the house.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
You said that was there when?
Prior to purchase.
Really? Because I'm looking at a shot that it wasn't there. There was a truck and a van there, but it was not there. So when did he purchase the property? Yeah, no, it wasn't there. It was, so when was it put there? So he put it in. Okay. All right. Right. This Google Earth picture is much newer than that, and it was not there.
Mr. Now, what would we typically require for fire protection and
Well, in this case, he doesn't require that because it's a dimensional variance only, so there's no special use criteria. That's, yeah, but that's not under us, that's under the inspector's office. It's a good question. So, I don't have any other questions. Anyone else have any questions? No. I know attached to the petition was a letter from an abutter which says, dear building inspector, I am the property owner of 233 Brownell Lane, Portsmouth, and an immediate neighbor of Mr. Paulo Azevedo, located at 24 West Shore Road. I am in agreement and have no objection with Mr. Paulo Azevedo's detached storage structure being less than a 15-foot setback to my property line. Sincerely, Mr. Stephen Aguilar. Do we have anything else in the file? At all? We have anyone remotely that wants to speak to this? Appears not. Okay. So Paulo Azevedo is before the board for tax assessors map 27 lot 19B. Seeking a 7-foot side yard variance for the purpose of keeping his current 20 by 60 foot storage unit. And also a variance request for it not being in the rear yard setback as required for a storage building. Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, this is, I could go either way on this one in regards to submitting an argument under the ordinance to either approve or deny. However, in this case, I'm slightly swayed toward the deny part of the petition. I think that it's not the least relief necessary. It's almost twice the size of a 2-car garage. And I think there's another location for it. Petitioner does not have a garage, and I sympathize with him in that respect. However, I don't think it's the least relief necessary, and I don't think he's met the criterion of a hardship amounting to more than a mere inconvenience. So I vote to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I concur with Mr. Borden. This is not the least relief necessary. And while there may be a hardship in terms of storing motorcycles and boats and tools, this structure, as we've calculated, is as big as a 4-car garage, which you wouldn't find anywhere in that neighborhood. So I vote to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Furell. Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to deny. Unfortunately, we are allowed one shed and I'm not really quite sure what else we describe this as, but you've got the shed. I think it's quite large structure, so I agree with what my colleagues have previously said and denied.
Okay. Ms. Horowitz?
I vote to deny for reasons previously stated.
The chairman also votes for reasons previously stated by Mr. Borden. I know at one point your father did have a temporary carport in the driveway, which,
Yeah, I think it's at one point.
right, Rich, which was nowhere near as large as this, but at some point he decided to try and expand that to a size of a full car garage. And our ordinance is always the least relief necessary, number one. So, had he maybe have maintained that over there, carport, yeah, probably wouldn't have been a problem. I can't say for sure, but this is excessive by the ordinance, so it's been denied. Okay,
How long is it to do that?
immediately. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a petition by Lisa Maylou, owner seeking a special use permit to operate a daycare center located at 40 Warren Drive. Mr. Spell.
Spelling out these names, okay, left,
Just swear her in first.
we do that now.
May as well do it now, right up front. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth. Full name and address for Teresa, please. Hey, Mr. Spell.
Ms. Mayu, as she stated, is the property owner at 40 Warren Drive. He has been operating since October of 2001 as a daycare, a family daycare home with 8 children or fewer, which in the definition section of our ordinance, 2 stables allowed by matter of right in our 20 zone.
Thank you.
On that first page of the back that I handed out, just goes to the definition section, explain why we're here. Again, she had been operating as a family daycare home, which, as you can see, caps the number of allowed 8 receiving daycare at one time. It has been operating since October with the kids. Now, after much demand and request, she's seeking to expand her use to 12 children. Under our ordinance, the expansion beyond 8 changes this from the family daycare home to a daycare center, which allowable by special use permit in R20 zone. Although as far as the state licensing board is concerned, it's still viewed in the same capacity as family daycare home. But look at the use table with that provided the second page of the packet. See that in addition to the normal special use criteria, there are 2 additional criteria set forth. The first being that outdoor recreational area will be screened from other residential uses. Second is that the use not be detrimental by way. And since you've already sworn in, I would just begin by going through those first 2 criteria. If everyone will look at that third page in their packet.
For the record, Mr. Spell, enter this as Exhibit 1.
Please, exhibit 1, page 3.
Mark this as Exhibit 1, please.
So it's a picture. Backyard. And when the children are at your house, that's where they play outside. this your white vinyl fence that wraps around? your fence?
The entire yard is fenced in. Daycare, small commercials.
Mr. Spell, could you guys kind of move to the microphone just so anybody remotely can hear? You can come up to Lisa.
So just again, for the microphone, the entire backyard is fenced in by a 6-foot vinyl fence.
Yes.
And then this smaller fence is a smaller area of your backyard, which has been permitted by. A number of large trees in the backyard. And you've been operating since October of 2020. In that time, have you ever received any complaints? And in your opinion, do you think that going from 8 children to 4 children will create any detriment to it? 8.
Additional 4.
8 children. Another requirement is that the proposed use not be detrimental to the surrounding area. Have an opinion whether or not this proposed use will be detrimental to the surrounding area. Again, it's the same use that you've been operating under since October. So it hasn't been detrimental to the neighborhood. We don't think the addition of 4 more kids. Compatible with neighboring land uses, although this is in a neighborhood. It's not only daycare where you work, we also allow by special use permit in the neighborhood. Assuming that the ordinance is compatible enough to allow it for the not create nuisance or hazard in the area. Yeah, so keep revisiting, but you've been operating since October. No nuisance has been raised. No hazards. You don't think the additional 4 would be great. And we believe that there is adequate protection for neighboring properties, open space plan. You're not adding any structures.
No.
Operating the same footprint, same open space, same. And safe vehicular and adequate parking provided. And this, as we know from some email letters, is point of attention. Start with traffic. There's 8 kids there now.
Yes.
And proposing 4 more children. And are any of the kids related?
Yes, right now I have 1 set of siblings, so on those days, it's 1 less car. And of the potential clients coming in, I have another sibling waiting and some 4 expected moms. So we're really looking to just accommodate present families, maybe add 2 more at most.
And I'm assuming the siblings ride together, mom will bring 1, dad will bring 1. And just to address another concern, when we say that we are looking to increase our capacity to 12 kids, that's 12 kids on Monday.
Yes,
Not you don't offer a morning session of 12 kids, an afternoon session of additional.
No, it's full day here, and I have 8 slots for every day. So there are 8 children there every day right now. This would expand it, allow it to expand to 12 every day.
And pick up and drop off. Is this a situation where all 8 kids in the last since October arrived at once? And
No, due to COVID-19, I needed to spread out the drop-offs anyway, so that I didn't have additional parents in the house. So I actually have a drop-off schedule. The drop-off hours are between 7:30 to 9:30 a.m., so it's a 2-hour window. And because of varying work schedules, they do use that time. I had one that dropped off this morning at 9:45, and I got 1 or 2 that came in between 7:30 and 7:40. And also at the end of the day, pickup is normally between 3 and 5 p.m. So that's pretty well spread out. It's all due to their varying work schedules. And the parents let us know in advance. We have, pretty much a set schedule because their work schedules are set. If they deviate, they let us know. This info for cars.
And you will notice in your packet, there's a chart that Mayor actually creates every week about structure, arrival, pickup time for the kids.
And I need to do that for staffing too. I have to have sufficient staffing, so that's why I did my little chart.
Now, and so when the parents do come and drop off their children, it's a situation where they are sitting there on the street, parked for a long period of time.
No, that hasn't happened yet. They can pull in at least 2 cars at a time to pull in because it's a double driveway. So it's not often that there's someone even on the street. They come in, they can pull in. I park off to the side to leave those 2 spaces available, and parents are on their way to work, and they just want to come in, knock off, get to work. They're not hanging on.
So fairly limited traffic for a brief period of the day. And as to your employees, they obviously need to get to work as well. You live there, you're an employee,
I'm one.
no extra traffic. You have one employee who lives a few doors down.
Her car stays in her driveway, she walks across
She
the
walks
road.
over. So you have one employee that is driving. And, so parking, you and I discussed the requirements under our ordinance. There's the 1 spot per staff member. And you are familiar with the licensing requirements of the board. You need how many staff per 12 kids?
1 staff for every 4 children, so I need a total of 3
So
staff
3 staff.
to expand to the 12.
So 1 spot per required staff member, we're at 3. And the ordinance requires an additional 1 space per 10 capacity children. So we're asking for 12, but to be safe, we'll call it 2 more parking spaces for total. If you'll look in your packet, there should be another picture. This is your house, 40 Lauren Drive. And that is a fairly large driveway. To fit 4 cars in that driveway. You have another paved kind of jot out, or is that your car?
That's right.
Your car park? And a 2-car garage. Why not count 7 spaces off street parking? Requirements that you have control of noise, smoke, and lighting. Running with daycare, create any noise, smoke, or odors that may be. Not adding any outdoor noise.
No.
Noise again.
So especially because at least one of the 4 that's on my waiting list is an infant, so that one isn't really outside that often.
No neighbors complain about it. In fact, there's a number of neighbors who filed letters that. For this petition. Solar rights would be better to be provided for. Any structures that block the sun.
No.
That was a comprehensive plan, specifically providing services. I believe that addresses the criteria. I do believe initial packet filed, there were a number of letters.
Yeah.
Favor, I do know that there's 1 letter here who has a concern.
One question I have, as far as you're licensed by the state for up to 12, is,
I'm licensed right now for 8.
okay,
They won't entertain the idea of expanding to 12 without town approval. So
Okay.
this is the first
Thanks
step.
for
Got that.
your receipt.
Now, if approved,
Yes,
does the state then have to come down and inspect and certify the facility?
yes. they've already inspected the usable space that I have. I know outdoors, I could have a number more, so the outdoor space is not a question. The
Right.
indoor space, I've added an additional room, one of our bedrooms, as another little classroom.
Okay,
So in order, if this is approved, then I then go to the state to expand, I have to resubmit my application, and then they have to come by and inspect everything again to make sure the square footage, example, it's 35 square foot per child.
okay, all right. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Melu?
Yeah, I have one question.
Go ahead.
So you say some people drop off early, some late.
Yes,
If they do early drop off, are they doing early pickup?
not necessarily. It depends. I have a couple of police officers and they drop off at 7:30 and they're there till 4:30 or 5. So it just depends on their work schedules. It does vary a little bit, but parents have been really good about letting me know. And like I said, we've been open for 8 months, my 8th month, and we haven't had any traffic issues.
All right, anything else? Okay. I have to ask,
Just before we close, the 12 is the maximum that she's ever gonna be able.
right,
You're asking for 12, and we'll be back. Next year asking for 16. She's maximum.
right,
square footage of the state.
And the 12 is the maximum allowed in a residential home. It's up
Right.
to 12, providing that.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Chappelle. I have to ask for butters or interested parties that want to speak to this. Come on up. That's okay. First of all, I got to tell the truth. Full name and address for Teresa. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Alexander.
I just had police service.
Mhm.
30 to the right of police's house.
Okay,
So all the traffic passes by.
right,
Right, so the increase from, now you're looking at 4 per day, right, plus that, plus family, plus the people down the street, and they all look better, it's very nice, I know, but they're not impacted, they're on the other side, so they don't deal with the traffic. I just want to make sure that, well, for one, how large can you grow?
that's been answered.
Yes, that was the answer.
Right,
And the sessions that I had written about, because I was in teaching preschool, they have morning sessions after. these
Right.
sessions, which would double the amount of cars.
at one point during the day, absolutely. Right,
Right, so you would have 2 sessions.
right, okay.
So.
State doesn't allow it. So even if, okay, so that answers most of your questions, because I know there was an extensive email, but you're good. Okay, great, thank you very much. All right, I know there were some letters in here, which I'll read the ones that were submitted, which was,
More in that package.
yeah, there's
Those
a.
are just testimonials.
Okay, so there was a letter from Susan Cook, writing a letter of support of Lisa Mill. I do not have any opposition to Lisa's petition to increase her daycare capacity from 8 to 12. Sincerely, Susan Cook. Let's see. There's members of the board, members of the zoning board of reviewers with our full support. We ask you to approve Lisa Maywood's application for a special use zoning permit and a request to expand her daycare center roster from 8 children to 12. She is a great neighbor and ours is a very safe neighborhood, perfect for this kind of service. The children presently in her daycare seem to be very happy as we see them playing outside in good weather. We have no objections. Thank you, James Groff, Donna Groff, Sarah Groff, Kelly Groff. Then there is a letter from Chelsea Larson, to whom it may concern. I am incredibly grateful I get to send my daughter to the village childcare. I know that while she is there, she is well cared for and she is happy to be there, which in turn makes me feel happy and confident in sending her. I'm currently taking a year off from work and have been so anxious about sending her to childcare and having to return to work. But since I have started sending to the village, I have been so happy with the care, and I've even felt I am ready to return to work earlier than expected. I believe the village to be the best childcare facility on Quinnipiac Island. All the staff are friendly and great with children. I love using the Daily Connect app to check in and see photos of my daughter throughout the day, and Lisa's quick responses always puts my mind at ease. I honestly could not be happier with our experiences and absolutely recommend her expansion to 12 children per day so that more families may enjoy the same experience as us. And finally, from a Jessica Sherrill, Lisa and her staff at the Village Child Care have been such a blessing to our family. Being a military family, we don't have family around, and she has been so warm and welcoming to our son that it's like we are leaving him with family when he's there. I know all the staff are taking such good care of him, and they are loving and nurturing. For ages birth to preschool, it is very difficult to find childcare in our area. Most places have a wait list. Lisa is always professional, responsive to emails, texts, keeps us informed, and most of all, she cares. I fully support having more friends join Lisa's childcare, the Lewis family.
And Mr. Chairman, there's
Yes.
one additional letter.
Could you read it, please?
From James McEvoy, McAvoy. To whom it may concern, my name is James McAvoy, and I am the homeowner of 66 Lauren Drive in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. My neighbor, Lisa Melo, resides on 40 Lauren Drive. I am writing to support her petition in expanding her home daycare from 8 to 12 children each day. If you have any questions, I can be reached at phone number. Thank you.
Thank you. We have anyone else that wants to speak? Is there anyone remotely? No one has their hand up. I think we're good. All righty. So Lisa Melo is before the board, tax assessors map 18 lot 92, seeking a special use permit to increase the number of children at her current home daycare from 8 to 12, which does require a special use permit. She's given testimony that she meets all state licensing, that the state will have to come down, re-inspect and relicense once if she receives town approval. Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, under the ordinance, this is a conditionally permitted use, given that the petitioner meets the criterion under the special use criterion under the ordinance. As Mr. Chappelle walked through the criteria, in my opinion, I believe that it has met the criterion under the ordinance. It's not going to create a nuisance or a hazard. Clearly, this petitioner has a track record. And the additional 4 students, given the 2-hour window for drop off and pickup, is not going to create a traffic issue or a nuisance or a hazard. Petitioner has met the approval, so I vote to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve for the reasons cited by Mr. Board.
Thank you. Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve for reasons cited by my peers.
Thank you. Ms. Horowitz.
I vote to approve for reasons previously stated.
The chairman also votes to approve for reasons previously stated by Mr. Borden. So you're all set. All righty. Have a good evening. Okay. Absolutely. We'll take a 2-minute recess. Speaking out. 3 petitions left to go and 45 minutes to do it. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Because it's no longer a storage shed. Did you, I showed, found this. We're gonna do workshops. and then Yeah. Liz, we can go.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Should there have been some sort of condition, like that he had to remove it in a certain amount of days?
Wasn't approved, it's gotta go, it's gotta go immediately. He's already been issued a violation. So. Sure. That Julia Smith back there? You know you're next, right?
I'm not a scientist.
You can't. Basically shut drywall and strap. Unless it's.
I noticed.
Good.
Okay, zoning board of review is back in session. Next item on the agenda is petition by Julia Smith of Frenchtown Road, East Greenwich, for tax assessors map 24 lot 58, seeking to put a childcare facility. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth. Full name and address for Teresa, please. Okay, Ms. Smith, go ahead.
So, I'll touch on a lot of things that were. School, we, on Frenchtown Road, which is right on the border. There is, a high need for childcare in the high. So we're going to expand. Very many families in the area who have been on wait lists for 1, even 2 years because there's not enough childcare. Really, I mean, really everywhere in the island. Our location in East Greenwich actually filled up within 6 months. And we have a 1.5 years. So what we're looking to do really is exactly what we've done. We expect that the state will approve us for 35 students. What licensing does is they come in after we've gotten our CO, they look at classrooms and they measurements based on don't have any space for table or bookshelves, and then they say, they tell us we can have 12 students in this room. So based on the square footage at East Main Road compared to Frenchtown, I'm confident we're about 35 students. When looking at our enrollment at Frenchtown, we can expect that about 30% of our students will be students. I have the same setup as the one before me, where we are open 7:30 to 5:30, but we have a window of drop off and pick up, so flexible for working parents. So we ask that parents drop off by 9 a.m. so that kiddos can get into the middle of the day, but they're able to come between 7:30 and 9, and the parents do filter in throughout that time, and pretty consistent. And same for pickup. They pick up usually between 3 and 5:30. Right now at our Frenchtown location, we never have more than 4 families in our program. And because of COVID, we had to get very efficient with pickup and drop off because we couldn't have these in the lobby. So we have a pretty solid system in place of making sure that kids are ready to go, the parents come in. So really, the family families are never in the driveway for more than, or the parking lot for more than 5 minutes unless they're there for a meeting. We will be using the back of the building for our playground. And our plan is to put a 6-foot white vinyl fence along the sides where it's facing the road, and then a black chain link in the back, because there's covering the back, and we are more nature-based school. Our kids spend about 2 hours outside a day, start in the morning, 1 hour outside, and I would prefer for it to be a little more open versus being boxed in by a white vinyl fence. And then Gary Travers, who's here via Zoom, is 2 of the abutters. So he owns, I know, 2 buildings that surround that area. And so I don't foresee any issues with noise. We currently we've never gotten noise complaint out of the front. And our kids are out between 9 a.m. and 11:30 in the morning. 2:30 and 3:30 or 4 p.m. working at the latest in the afternoon. So it's all during working hours. There is an adequate number of parking spaces. Should be more than 4 times for families. And then I expect to have 7, sometimes 8 staff, because I'll be going back and forth between the folks. I have a full-time director there, but as of I still want to be staff eye and see how things are going, especially since we'll be school. So we'll need between 7 or 8 parking spaces.
So the building we're talking about, and for board members, in case you haven't checked it out, that's the building right up the top of Park Avenue. And it's right abutted by a hairdresser and then the Chinese restaurant. Brand new building. In some respects, it's been there for a while. Now, to my knowledge, the only people that were in the building was the Army recruiting station, which I don't know if they're still there or not.
They are.
How much of that building will you be occupying?
So I will be taking over the 2 units left.
Okay.
Like left-hand side of the.
Right, there's one section that kind of faces East Main Road, then there's this, so it's this section.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. And that's the area you're talking about behind that where you will put the fence for the playground?
Yes.
Which direct, okay, all right. Yes, there is ample parking in that lot. I personally don't have any traffic concerns because there is a light right near there that does break traffic. Again, you have to be fully licensed by the state. They have to come and inspect before you can do anything.
Yeah, and we've gotten pre-approval for these plans.
Right,
But they have to come to a final inspection.
Right,
for it.
okay. Any questions from the board? Board?
Just as a point of information, under the lot coverage, the lot size is not 6,136, it's 26,136, which is well within the lot coverage, even though it's not calculated.
Right. Okay. Yes. Well, she's not building the building already
No,
exists, yeah.
No,
But,
it's
got it.
it's in
Yeah, it's well
compliance.
within.
It just
Okay,
references 6,000, it's
Right.
26,000.
yeah. Any other questions? Nothing? We have anyone, I guess, did you say Mr. Travers was on? Yeah, there he is. So I don't know if he wants to speak or not. He owns the building, I'm pretty sure. Mr. Travers, if you can hear us, would you like to speak? And if so, please unmute your microphone. Yeah, ask him to unmute, see if he does. Nothing? Okay, well. We can't do anything about that. All right, do we have anyone else, any other abutters or interested parties to speak to this? Does not appear that way. All right. So Julie Smith is before this board for tax assessors map 24, lot 58, and it's commercial district, seeking a special use permit for the purpose of putting in a childcare facility. So, Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, once again, this is a conditionally permitted use under the ordinance. This property is zone commercial. The petitioner walked through the criterion for special use permit approval. I don't see any issues with noise, smoke, odors. It's commercial, it's compatible with surrounding land uses. Again, it's not going to be a nuisance or a hazard. And I think it's going to be a positive addition to the community. The petitioner has a track record that speaks for itself of running a successful daycare facility. So I vote to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Furell.
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden and offer my best wishes on your success.
Thank you, Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve. Having kids, I know it's tough to find some good daycare around here, so I wish you luck.
Thank you, Ms. Horowitz.
Vote to approve for reasons previously stated.
Thank you. The chairman also votes to approve for reasons previously stated by Mr. Borden. So you're all set. All right, have a good evening and good luck. Okay, next item on the agenda is petition by Patrick Carberry and Leah Michaels. Don't see any of the above here. So would the board like to grant them a courtesy and continue this to our next regularly scheduled meeting? And Leah, if the board does do that, could you contact them
Most definitely.
and say, so. Could I have a motion to continue the petition of Patrick Carberry and Leah Michaels to our regularly scheduled meeting of June 16th?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second to continue the petition of Patrick Carberry and Leah Michaels to our regularly scheduled meeting of June 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The last item on the agenda is a petition by Garrett DeCastro, DeCastro Brothers Realty, requesting a 15-foot and 5-foot side yard setback for storage containers. Castro, raise your right hand. Want to tell the truth? Full name and address for Teresa. All right. So before we even get started, I have an issue. You already know what that issue is. So Leah and
Yes,
Mr. Gavin,
yes.
I have an issue. This is my issue.
What's your issue?
What are we talking about here? Because I go to one part of town and I see storage containers, but they appear to be a house. Now I go down the other end and now we're calling these same things a storage container. Are they a house? Are they a storage container? Does the town have a definition for what the heck these things are? Nope. I'm just throwing it. Oh yeah, down on
Boyd's Lane.
Boyd's Lane. Yeah, they're making a house out of them. Don't ask me how they got a building permit for that one, but. Yeah, so there's a couple of storage containers down there that are being turned into a house.
Well, I think they're just living in storage containers. Doesn't look like a house.
I don't know. This is my issue. And now we've
It
got a
has been
notice of
cited.
violation for something that could be a house.
I guess they're shipping containers.
Yeah.
I think that been subject of worry by enforcement. People show up. That's the thing.
Precedent.
Are you living in these?
All
You might be able to keep them, so.
right, so I think we know what the issue is, Mr. DeCastro, but correct me if I'm wrong. On your property, right down in East Main Road, right across from St. Barnabas, you have 2 storage containers. How many years have they been there? Okay. So how did this come about? I'm just curious. I mean, it's not like nobody in town drives by there at all. Right, right.
Well, I guess the elephant in the room would be certain somebody that. My assumption, it's just an assumption. It sat there, I didn't get a permit for it, didn't think there was a required permit for it.
Right.
And so, some sheds at the time. I guess there has since been some more issues in town. All around shipping containers, so it was hit a radar. And next thing you know, I got a violation almost a year ago now. So
Right.
there's variance back and forth on drawings,
That is zoned commercial, correct?
Correct.
Out of that particular building, I know that the other part of, now, that's not all one,
It's 2 lots.
it is 2 lots.
Yeah, if you look at the full site plan, it's the half line, the lot line is actually 2.5 meters down, so it's almost 50% of that lot. That's full.
Okay,
So from lot coverage standpoint, that's.
well, I'm not so much the lot coverage thing, it's, I'm trying to figure that the farm stand is in some respects agricultural. Even though it's commercial, but your part is more construction,
I would
correct?
consider.
What do you store in there?
So one's used to store, they're both used for dry exterior storage, one's for small equipment,
Right,
compactors, store inside the shop, and the other's for bulk material that we need dry storage, mortar, cement, all
okay. Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, by all means, feel free to ask. I'll open something up. Anything hazardous stored in those?
we've got a lot of good lawn care, so we might have to start.
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. DeCastro, there's a truck there that is a mosquito abatement company?
Years ago, yes.
Oh.
I've since sold that.
Okay,
about 2
cool.
years ago.
Okay,
So we used to have mosquito pesticides.
Yeah.
and Prior to that, even we had one.
Okay. okay, I thought I had seen that truck there recently, but maybe they were just passing through.
Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just for that.
These are not permanent structures, correct? Right. So it's not as if you built a building. Got it.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Borden.
the landscaping that you're proposing for the front storage container, I'm wondering if that is going to impair line of sight vision for people entering or exiting more specifically exiting the property.
So that's been a concern, even just for us, when we was driving out, even my office manager down in a small Toyota Camry. So the way that we park what we have and where we have that storage container now does not obstruct that line of sight. So you can see both north and south. What we're proposing to add is about a 2 to 3 foot skinny strip that we maintain. We have plenty of right of way for walk passage, even though there are no sidewalks there at the time, but it's still state property, I guess, at that point, that could be a sidewalk. in the future. There would be enough for them, so.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hang on, I'm just looking at another thing up. So, out of curiosity, Mr. DeCastro, and again, it's been a while since I've looked, is there any reason why those are currently sitting on the south side of the building?
Yes.
is there any reason they couldn't be moved to the north side and put in the back?
So the north side, that satellite view, depending how many it is, so we have our grid storage bin.
I see the material storage bins, but couldn't those be moved?
Could I move it?
Yeah, absolutely,
Show,
sure,
you show me what,
right. Material storage is here right
so it's actually, this is an old one, it's actually perpendicular to that.
now. Is there any reason it couldn't be moved over there and those moved there? I'm just asking the question.
Yep, so we tried to move it over here at one
Right.
point, we have material bins, we don't have the room between the building and the property line here.
Got it.
To
Okay,
get- To get the trucks in and dump into the things. So really, the location that they're in now, I wouldn't say it's the only location, but it is the most economic. The other concern I had was I could maybe put one on either side of the building, but then would that be a problem with egress around the building or access?
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. All right. I have no other questions myself.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, I'd like to abstain from this one. I have an issue with linear landscaping personally.
Oh, okay.
So I would prefer not to be voting on this.
Oh, okay. So in that case, it will be
Sorry, I didn't
Mr.
realize it was.
Did you already vote? No. So it will be Mr. Harris will be the alternate, or he will be the alternate voting on this one. So, okay, thank you, Ms. Horowitz. So for the record, Ms. Horowitz is abstaining from voting on this. Okay. Any other questions? No? No? Okay. Any abutters or interested parties? Do we have anybody up there that? Nothing? Okay. All right, Garrett DeCastro is before the board for tax assessors map 45, lot 1, seeking a 15-foot front yard variance and a 5-foot side yard variance for the purpose of keeping their 2 storage containers that they've had in the property for approximately 3 years and recently received a notice of violation. So, Mr. Borden.
Mr. Chairman, this property is zoned commercial. Petitioner has a commercial use. The accessory use of the property for storage is a reasonable request, in my opinion, and meets the special use criterion under the ordinance. It's not creating a nuisance or a hazard. It's compatible with the surrounding commercial uses in the area. And I think to deny would amount to more than a mere inconvenience under the dimensional variance criterion in the ordinance. I vote to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Furell?
Mr. Chairman, I also vote to approve for the reasons cited by Mr. Borden. This is a reasonable use of that property.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reposa.
I also vote to approve. I think it's a reasonable use for the property.
Thank you. Mr. Harris?
I vote to approve on the same basis.
Thank you. The chairman also votes to approve for the reasons previously stated by Mr. Borden. I think it is the least relief necessary. You know, they are temporary containers, so at any point in time, had they become an issue or no longer usable, they can very easily be removed from the property. It does give the applicant some flexibility in storing equipment. You know, the garage itself is not that large, especially if you have to do repairs on any of the large equipment. If you're storing stuff in there, I could understand where it would be inconvenient. So, yeah, so you've been approved. Okay,
Good luck.
thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
Can I have
Mr.
a
Chairman.
second?
Oh, we have minutes, we have minutes,
What?
we have minutes.
We already approved the minutes
Oh,
at
I
the
must
very
have been,
beginning.
I must have been asleep then.
Had to have been.
Sorry. I
That's
did have-
okay.
I
Can
do have something to ask though.
What's that?
I need to know how you guys want these packets electronically, delivered to your house.
I like one like this.
No,
No,
I
you
can like
don't.
this.
No, you don't.
Like too much paper.
Well,
That's.
you know
a ton
what?
of
I'll tell you
paper.
what, Leah.
What?
They don't need to be in the folders.
Good.
So
Okay.
if this was all just paper clipped together and they came in one stack, that's fine.
Okay, Teresa and I are on it.
But we do like the hard copies. At least I do. I know
Well, you're a
John
hard
does. I know
copy
Ben
guy.
does.
John's a hard copy guy.
I'm a hard copy.
Ben's a hard copy guy.
I'm fine electronic.
Sue's electronic.
She's a youngster.
You like a hard
the
copy?
trees. I look after the trees, guys.
I recycle.
I'll take the hard copy.
Now, do you like them delivered to your house? Do you like them mailed to your house? Do you like to pick
No,
them up?
don't mail. This is what I would suggest, and I'd be happy to do it, is that what I like, John, go with me here. We used to get everything 2 weeks before. To get it the day before, it doesn't do as good, especially if we have to run to a piece of property, right? If we can get it somewhere within a little more than a week's time, let us know. I mean, most of us can come pick it up, but if they can't, I'd be happy to deliver them like we used to get them delivered. I mean, I'm retired. I
You
got
got them
them
electronically? and you just get it.
Get them
Want the hard copy,
electronically and
pick
get
it
a
up.
hard copy, pick it up
Here,
whenever.
It's just handed out.
Yeah, I like to get
We
mine
can
early.
share. I want one hard copy.
Yeah, green piece over
They
there.
want theirs.
Your green piece.
So,
I'm good electronic ahead of time. hard copy here.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I like that.
So
Okay.
we like ours ahead of time.
And
I
in
do.
separate folders.
Not doing that separate
Oh,
folder thing. I
But
guess.
somewhere floating around, no, are colored.
We
remember?
found them.
You found them. And that was the easiest thing. They were just those, put in everybody's name on them, good to go.
Okay.
Is that good?
I'm learning, yes.
Doing good.
I like doing it my East Greenwich way, but I'll comply with the Portsmouth way.
All right, so I have a motion to adjourn. I did not get a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're good. Thank you all.